week. I'm sure you had a great weekend, or at least you made it the most you thought you could. And then, of course, you found a way to unwind, just to relax, do a couple of things away from work, but some sort of healthy kind of relaxation and enjoyment, if you like. But then we're back to work again. This morning, I'm doing my bit. I'm sure you're about doing yours as well. Ours is to ensure that we put the big stories in front of you and then also provide you in-depth practical analysis as to all of the happenings around us, whether they are back at home in Nigeria or even beyond the shores of our great country. This morning, several issues are in front of us, but we have decided to look at two of them. One with strong economic element to it. The second has to do with the agitation in the southwest of the country. Of course, for a couple of years now, the Yoruba Nation agitation has been a front burner issue for, who knows, a couple of reasons. One of them being that it's just one of those voices now saying we can't continue to have Nigeria as we know it or as is currently constituted. We've seen how that conversation has quickly evolved, and today look where we are. We want to talk about all of those. We also want to look at the moves now being made by both the Securities and Exchange Commission, that is SEC, on the one hand, and then the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, the apex bank in this country, individually and by way of collaboration to ensure that the issue of cryptocurrency is tackled as quickly as possible. Now we understand some $57 billion peer-to-peer trade is being threatened on account of some sort of malpractices happening within the cryptocurrency space. Recall that just a couple of weeks ago, two Binance executives, for starters, Binance is a cryptocurrency trading platform. All right, two of these, the executives had flown into the country, and on the advice or directive of the National Security Advisor, they were detained. However, one found a way of escape, and then we understand that he had been traced to Kenya, somewhere in East Africa, and efforts have been frantically made now to see to his extradition. While the authorities are at it, his colleague, the second executive who had flown into Nigeria with him, is now being detained here in Abuja. Of course, his case is still in courts. In the middle of all of this, the CBN and other regulatory agencies, of course, institutions of the government, now say that if we are not careful, if something urgent and pragmatic isn't done, all right, there's a pretty good chance that cryptocurrency could become even far more problematic for Nigerian economy, particularly the Naira, than we can readily realize. As a matter of fact, it is now believed by the EFCC as well as the CBN and the SEC that one thing we must do going forward is to ensure that digital banks, of course we have a plethora of them, are not used as a platform to continue to push, or if you like, drive trade in cryptocurrency. But that conversation itself is not only sensitive, but significantly protracted because of how, one, the introduction of crypto has changed how transactions are done across the world, and the evolution of that phenomenon itself has not helped matters any better. For some people, it's not a matter of stopping the trade in crypto. It should be a question of how do we better regulate it so it doesn't become a threat, potentially or existentially, to the Naira as is currently the case. Recall that in the last few months of this year, we've seen the Naira suffer so much, ending up with a bloody nose, in a manner of speaking, in the hands of, as the authorities now believe, crypto traders and, of course, those structures and systems that encourage and continue to enable them. Of course, it's a long drawn-out conversation, no doubt about that. But quickly, let's take a break so we can join Fatima Umar and our team to bring you Taste and Texture.
Adalu is simply the combination of stewed beans and corn. Hi everybody, welcome back to another savory episode on Taste and Texture. I'm Fatima Aboma, who would like to have a mouthful of lip-smacking, scrumptious, aromatic, flavorsome and palatable delicacies. Stay with me and let's make this delectable Adalu meal. That's protein punch and a meal you don't want to miss out on. Adalu, is a Yoruba corn and beans porridge native and popular in Yoruba land region, Benin and Togo. Incredibly delicious and incredibly filling. It is comforting meal, not too complicated protein punch. It's deliciously savory and doesn't require a whole lot of finesse to make. It is a delicious fusion of sweet beans and corn. It's nutritious, especially when you don't add too much palm oil. Adalu is a Nigerian food mainly eaten by the people of the western part of Nigeria, the Yorubas. The original name in Yoruba is Ewa Ati Agbado, and it's called Agwa na Oka in Igbo language. It's basically one of their delicious dishes. The combination of beans and corn gives it the name Adalu, Ewa Ati Agbado. Adalu is beans and fresh corn cooked together with local seasoning and spices. Most Nigerians love this delicious meal. It is rich in protein and carbohydrate as well. And the ingredients needed are 2 cups of raw beans, 2 ripe plantains, pepper mixture blended, tatashe, rodo, and tomatoes, palm oil, onion, 400 grams of fresh corn or more, salt, seasoning cubes, ground crayfish, optional. And now let's make it. Beans take longer to cook, so avoid adding salt while it's still hot. Always add salt at the tail end of your cooking. If you have a pressure cooker, it cuts down the time and saves energy when used to cook beans. If you don't have a pressure cooker, add potash to the beans as it also speeds up the process. Add chopped onions to the beans, cover with enough water and bring to boil until soft, 95% done. Add sliced plantain and cook for another 10 to 15 minutes. Add more water to beans if need be. Place a pan on medium heat. Add the desired amount of palm oil and heat for about 5 minutes. This process is just to get rid of the curdling taste you get from uncooked palm oil. Add palm oil, pepper mix, salt, fresh corn, crayfish, and seasoning to the beans and cook for another 10 to 20 minutes till all ingredients are well combined. Stir in between to mash beans and avoid burning. Serve adalu with gari or any other side dish of your choice. It is delicious and pleasurable to your taste buds. That's it on today's episode of Taste and Texture. See you same time next time for another luscious staple. Bye.
proud to announce that Queen Agaba has shown up on a Monday morning. It's a great Monday. The only thing is we don't have cups of coffee in front of us this morning. Queen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm sure you had a great weekend. You look
As always, but the only difference I must admit is I got a bit more intentional this time. Told myself, yes, there may be a bit of work. Of course, there was a bit of work even yesterday, but then I wanted to prioritize my relaxation, and I did that very successfully.
yeah, it's very evident, very obvious.
Right. I got a haircut too.
That's true. How
Yes.
come I didn't notice?
Well, you know, my
I'm always
wife.
the first to notice.
My wife notices first.
But I'm always the first to notice when like men get their haircuts. Maybe because I pay attention. But,
Which is a good trait, by the way.
Good trait, yes, it's a good trait. So I always tell my cousin will always say that nobody in this house noticed except for Queen that I had a haircut. And when I tell him, oh, your haircut looks nice, he's always very,
Yeah. We all can use some accolade, as my friend will call it. Yeah, that's accolade, actually. So Queen is always a delight to have you on the program. So I was just talking a while ago about some of the issues across our country. On the one hand, you have, I mean, in the southwest, you have the Yoruba nation agitation, but across the economy, you have several developments. One of them now being one that has to do with cryptocurrency and what authorities now say it's a threat. I mean, that it poses a threat to the naira, and that is very concerning because there's no right-thinking nation on earth that wants any phenomenon or intervention or disruption or innovation to become a threat, potentially or existentially, to its own currency. Of course, you and I have followed business for a while here, and we realize that even the CBN has never been more concerned about threats to the naira. I mean, you see how the naira has gotten weakened at the point to, I mean, it got to an extent where it was sold for as high as upwards of 1,800. All right, to the US dollar, which was not only a problem for the economy, but became an embarrassing development. But today we see that got some progress along those lines, even though we are not exactly out of the woods just yet. But last week, we know for a fact that some of these digital banks, the non-conventional banks, as I'd like to call them for the purpose of this conversation, had come out to say, look, please, we're begging all our customers, home and abroad, stop using our platforms to trade crypto. But crypto, it's more like a blessing and a curse, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But we see that, we're not seeing that the curses happen to be more
than the blessing.
Than the blessings, especially with the allegations bordering on fraud, criminality, and how, it's a threat to the naira as a whole. So these fintech companies have no option than to say, you know what, we're begging our customers, please do not use our platform to
for a trade, right?
Trade and all of that. And then, I think that the move by the CBN to ensure that it has to be, because of the recent allegations, EFCC, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission have been, have alleged for cryptocurrencies and crypto traders, as we see with the case with the now the Binance CEOs, and all that has been going around. So I think it's only right and fair, at least for now, that these banks, because of the fear of their existence being threatened, they have to beg. And it's a good move because the CBN wants these banks to know their customers.
Right.
And then it's a move to ensure that criminality, fraud, is brought to the barest minimum in terms of, and so it's a welcome revelation, and it's a welcome development to see that there's a close marking between customers of these banks, because most of these banks we know do not have physical locations,
unlike the traditional banks.
Conventional banks that we know. So these banks, what the best they can do is to plead with their customers and see to it that their platforms are not used to trade cryptocurrencies because of the threats.
I've talked about it here. Last year, I made some passing reference to it again this year, how the former Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, had talked about how that crypto should not be banned, outright. Instead, there should be some regulatory framework around it and all of that. But of course, that was a few years ago. He said that government has changed in Nigeria, apparently. And the dynamics around crypto, too, have not remained the same between then and now. So the question is, how do we now begin to appreciate crypto as an alternative of some kind with the necessary guards, or if you like, guardrails around it? I think those are questions we need to answer as we make progress. But Kikelemo Okere, of our business desk has put together for us business roundup for the week. But behind that, we're just going to bring you the Global AM News here, and after which we'll put our conversations on the road. Don't forget, we have a newspaper review for you here as well. Quinn and I will take a look at the big stories from across our national dailies in the course of the show this morning. Do stay with us.
Hello and welcome to Business Reports on Global Morning. In the opening trading session of May at NAFEM window, the Naira experienced a slight decline, settling at 1,402 Naira to a dollar, which is 0.83% decrease from the previous close of 1,319 Naira to a dollar in April. Market data from FMDQ revealed a fluctuation within the day, with the Naira hitting a peak of 1,445 Naira to a dollar and a low of 1,299 Naira against the dollar, accumulating a significant spread of 145 Naira. Meanwhile, the volume of dollar transactions saw a modest rise of 3.32%, reaching $232.84, up from $225.36 on the preceding Tuesday. In the parallel market, the Naira weakened further, dropping to 1,380 Naira per dollar on May 2nd, marking a 1.45% fall from 1,360 Naira rate on April 30th, 2024. This shift brought the disparity between the parallel market and NAFEM rate down to a mere 22.67 Naira from the 40.96 observed on Tuesday. Seplat Energy PLC says it has released the applicable exchange rate used in determining its final and special dividend payouts to qualified shareholders who wish to receive their dividend in the Naira. According to the statement, the exchange rate for the Naira amount payable is the NAFEM closing rate of April 25th, 2024. The energy firm is set to disburse a total of 46.2 billion Naira for its 2023 final and special dividend, representing a payout ratio of 57%. This allocation aligned with the company's net income of 81.3 billion Naira for 2023 fiscal year. Seplat Energy PLC, a leading Nigerian independent energy company listed on the both Nigerian Exchange Limited and London Stock Exchange, confirms that the currency exchange is the rate applicable in determining both the final and special dividend for 2023 to shareholders that will receive the dividend payment in Naira. As the cost of living continues to rise high, access to affordable and nutritious food remain a critical concern for many households across the country. The cost of healthy diet serves as a vital metric in assessing the economy and physical accessibility of nutritious food options. At the national level, the average cost of a healthy diet stood at 982 Naira per adult per day in March 2024, reflecting a 4.7% increase from the previous month. According to data prepared by the National Bureau of Statistics, regional disparity were evident, with the Southwest recording the highest average cost of healthy living at 1,198 Naira per day, while the Northwest boasted the lowest at 787 Naira per day. Zooming in at the state level, Ekiti, Lagos and Abia states emerged with the highest cost, recording 1,313 Naira, 1,249 Naira and 1,215 Naira respectively. Conversely, Katsina led the pack with the lowest cost at 739 Naira, followed closely by Sokoto and Zamfara at 758 Naira and 766 Naira respectively. Furthermore, analysis data at the zonal level reveal disparity in cost of healthy living across different regions. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television. We're live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, and the Office of the National Security Advisor, NSA, have concluded plans to reduce the numbers of military and paramilitary personnel at Nigerian international airports who have physical contact with passengers' baggage multiple times, thus constituting delays and numerous inconveniences to travelers passing through the airports. Complaints have increased over the years of the necessary multiple checks of passengers' belongings carried out by the many security agencies' officers who mount checkpoints inside the terminals of international airports. Experts in the aviation industry have called for streamlining of such exercises, as well as a drastic reduction of such agencies' personnel, while others suggest a centralized structure of checks be adopted to reduce the numbers of human contacts passengers' belongings are subjected to. Operatives of the National Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, Abia State Command, have arrested 3 suspected dealers on vandalized railway lines and sleepers in Aba. The State Commandant, Usman Al-Fadarai, stated this yesterday while speaking on Sunday at the command headquarters in Umuahia, the state capital. Ahmed Audi, to end crime and criminality in the country, said the suspects, who are members of a syndicate that specializes in dealing on scrap metals lines, suspected to be railway lines and sleepers, were arrested in the factory at 2nd Power Line by Ogbo Sisi Urata during the raid. They recovered large quantities of railway lines and sleepers being processed in preparation to be moved to Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project have filed a lawsuit against the governors of the 36 states of the Federation and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, over their failure to account for and publish the agreements of the 5.9 trillion naira and $4.6 billion loans obtained by the states and the FCT. The suit number FHC ABJ CS 592-2024 was filed on Friday on behalf of SARAP by its lawyers Kolawole Oluwadare, Kehinde Oyewumi, and Valentina Adegoke at the Federal High Court Abuja on Sunday, asked the courts to direct and compel the governors and Mr. Wike to account for 5.9 trillion naira and $4.6 billion loan obtained by the state and the FCT, and to publish copies of the loan agreements, location of projects executed with the loans. The suit is the sequel to SARAP's demand, which was addressed to the 37 respondents in a statement issued by the organization's Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadare, on March 31st, 2024. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission says it will begin the process of blocking loan apps that harass their customers. Many Nigerians have complained about the harassment they are subjected to by these loan sharks. The Commission's acting chairman, Adamu Abdullahi, said the agency has begun to address the issue. Governor Diko Rada of Katsina State said the bandits are recruiting young people into crime for as low as 500 naira. Governor Rada stated this in an interview. According to him, poverty is one of the major factors fueling banditry in the country. The governor stated that banditry has become a business venture for some persons, including government officials. It has turned out to be a business venture for the criminals, some people who are in government and some people who are in security outfits, and some who are responsible for the day-to-day activities of their people. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has disassociated itself from a circulating report in the media alleging the release of a list of 58 ex-governors under investigation for corruption to the tune of 2.18 trillion naira. In a press statement on Sunday, the EFCC clarified that it has not issued any such list nor discussed the investigation of the former governors with any media outlet. According to the statement signed by the EFCC spokesperson Dele Oyewale, the report titled EFCC releases full list of 58 ex-governors that embezzled 2.187 trillion was falsified. You're watching AM News, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on our social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. When News AM returns, FG pegs electricity supply to international customers at 6% of available grid generation. This and other stories coming right after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, if you've just joined us, this is Global Television bringing you live broadcast of the News AM. On the foreign scene, Russia has added Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to its list of wanted criminals, a move Kiev dismissed as a sign of Moscow's desperation. Zelensky's name appeared on the Russian Interior Ministry's wanted list, an online database of alleged criminals sought by the Russian authorities. It said the Ukrainian leader was wanted under an article of the criminal code without providing further details. Ukraine's foreign ministry said the decision demonstrated the desperation of the Russian state machine and propaganda, which are at a loss for what else to invent to garner attention. The commander of Ukraine's land forces, Oleksandr Pavlyuk, and former Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko also appeared in the online database. Britain's ruling Conservatives braced for further losses in local elections, their worst results in recent memory and a key test before general election to be held by January. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's party lost nearly 500 councillors and control of 12 councils, as well as a parliamentary seat, after voting Thursday across a swathe of England saw the Labour opposition make huge gains. The beleaguered Tory leader faces more likely defeats when results of crunch mayoral races in London, Liverpool and Manchester are announced Saturday, but is hoping to retain the West Midlands. Labour, out of power since 2010 and trounced by Boris Johnson's Conservatives at the last general election in 2019, seized on its claim to the Blackpool South seat in Parliament and other successes to demand a national vote. Truce talks were expected to resume in Egypt, aimed at halting months of war in Gaza between Hamas militants and Israel that have triggered widening protests around the world. Mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and the United States have been waiting for the Palestinian Islamist movement to respond to a proposal that, according to details released by Britain, would halt fighting for 40 days and exchange hostages for Palestinian prisoners. Months of negotiations stalled in part of Hamas's demand for a lasting ceasefire and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's repeated vows to crush the group's remaining fighters in Rafah, along the Egyptian border in Gaza's far south. In business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has blamed the lingering fuel scarcity in the country on panic buying and sharp practices by some petroleum marketers who are exploiting the present situation to make more money. The company also vowed that the fuel queues across the country would end next week, noting that it had enough liters to fuel to end the scarcity. Petroleum marketers, however, disagreed with the position of the NNPC, insisting that inadequate supply was a major reason for the persisting fuel scarcity. Recall that on Tuesday, the NNPC spokesperson Femi Shoneye assured that the ongoing shortage in supply of petroleum products and queues for the products will be cleared by May 1st. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has restructured the transmission company of Nigeria by establishing the Nigerian Independent System Operator of Nigeria Limited. This development was announced in an order signed by the chairman of the commission, Sanusi Garba, and vice chairman, Mr. Muslim Hosseini, in Abuja. This is coming almost 4 years after the company said it was consulting stakeholders as it moves to implement the unbundling of the transmission company of Nigeria into 2 entities. The company said all market and system operation responsibilities will be transferred from TCN to the newly formed NISO. There seems to be hope of improved power supply in the country as the federal government has commissioned 63 MVA 132 and 33 kV mobile station at Ajah, Lagos State, and Benin Kebbi State simultaneously. Speaking at the event, Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu stated that the 2 mobile stations stand as beacons of hope for businesses and households reliant on uninterrupted power supply, as additional 625 megawatts have been to the national grid, thus increasing the nation's power generation capacity to 4,800 megawatts. The minister assured that the federal government is working towards achieving 6,000 megawatts by December 2024, when all the cement phase 1 power projects would have been completed. The federal government has mandated system operators in the Nigerian power industry to supply not more than 6% of total available grid generation per hour to international customers or off-takers. In a new order by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, to electricity generation companies, the regulator stated that the priority system of prioritizing international customers and limiting distribution companies' DISCOs off-takes during times of imbalances in the grid is both inefficient and inequitable. According to new order, the aggregate capacity to be allocated by electricity generation companies to international off-takers in the next 6 months shall not be more than 10% of GENCO's generation capacity. And on entertainment, popular actress and comedian Wofai Fada has tied the knot with her partner Taiwo Olakitan Cole in a traditional wedding ceremony that captured the hearts of fans across the internet. Reality TV star and singer Hazel Oyezeonu, popularly known as White Money, says he has lost his interest in the Grammys. The BBN Niger Season 6 winner, who has been very vocal about his desire to win a Grammy, said the American award has been compromised and has lost its value. British actor Bernard Hill, best known for his supporting roles in Titanic and The Lord of the Rings trilogy, died on Sunday, aged 79. He played Captain Edward Smith in the Oscar-winning 1997 epic romance Titanic and earned worldwide recognition playing Theoden, King of Rohan, in 2 of the 3 The Lord of the Rings films directed by Peter Jackson. His agent Luke Coulson confirmed his death in the early hours of Sunday to British media outlets. In sports, Nigeria's quartet of Samuel Ogazi, Ella Onojuwewo, Chidi Okezie, and Esther Elo Joseph, competing in the mixed 4,000 meters event of the ongoing World Relays in the Bahamas, have qualified for the Paris Olympics holding later this year. The time ran a time of 3:13.79 in Heat 2 to finish second behind the United States of America to book one of the 2 automatic qualification spots. Both Nigeria and the U.S. were a distance ahead of others in the heat, and it was obvious as at the third leg that the race was between the two countries. Chidi Okezie ran an impressive third leg in 44.78 to hand over his baton first, but a very experienced Olympics gold medalist, Kendall Ellis, was too much for Esther Elo Joseph in the anchor leg as she led the United States to the finish line. Cristiano Ronaldo has notched his 66th career hat trick in a resounding 6-0 win for Al Nassr's over Al Wahda in the Saudi Pro League. The legendary footballer, a 5-time Ballon d'Or recipient, has been in scintillating form, tallying an impressive 32 league goals this season, with just 2 goals shy of Abderrazak Hamdallah's record of 34 set in the 2018 to 2019 campaign. Ronaldo's performance has been nothing short of remarkable, with 4 games still remaining. Ronaldo wasted no time in making his mark on the match, breaking the deadlock in the 5th minute after capitalizing on a defensive error from Al Wahda's goalkeeper, Muni El Kajou. And that's it on the AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching, and see you again.
Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. It's time to turn to the papers for you. On the show, we have quite a number of them to look at for you. We're beginning with the Blueprint newspaper this morning. The big story in front of it says, Serapto courts order Wike, Sani, others to account for 5.9 billion naira, 4.6. Writer says, one list of ex-governors under probe. Bago salutes deputy at 50, says he is dependable. That's right, under Blueprint newspaper. That's governor of Niger State there saluting his deputy. Okay, we'll take a quick break now. The rest of the papers will return shortly. Well, we hope you stay with us. stay with us. We are joined now to with our conversation, the first one on the road, by Oladotun Hassan. There's a lawyer, public affairs commentator. He doubles as the President Yoruba Nation worldwide. Hassan, we want to say a big thank you to you for jumping on the show this morning.
Yes, good morning. It's a pleasure to be on your program. For correction, it's Yoruba Council.
Queen Agaba and I will have this interaction with you for the next couple of minutes. But let's begin, first of all, by establishing that a couple of weeks ago, you and I talked about the invasion of the secretariat, the government secretariats in Ibadan, or your state capital, by some persons who at the time had claimed that they were representatives of the agitation for Yoruba Nation, but we know better today. However, as it stands now, the man some persons would rather refer to as the arrowhead of this agitation has, Professor Akintoye has said that, look, we're giving ultimatum. We've given ultimatum to the federal government, of course, under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, to set up a committee and find a peaceful, amicable way of helping us to secede from this entity called Nigeria as we currently know it. What are your thoughts as somebody who plays a very critical leadership role in the mix?
Well, it's an unfortunate situation that gives back to this precarious quagmire that we find ourselves, in the sense that Professor Banji Akitoye signing letter with the Sunday Igboho, giving ultimatum. At no arena have we sat to resolve on their resolution of letters, and their position, quite regrettably and quite unfortunate, that they are dilly-dallying with the lives of the Yoruba people, risking our lives and pushing us to against other ethnic entities. We are quite aware that they've been having this Yoruba Nation agitation. Yes, within the right of of self-determination in regards to the African Charter of Human Rights and the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But there are limitations. We don't have that in our country's constitution. But in view of the fact that they hold this grandstand of not even communicating with the people at home, believing that everything should be covering the field on the social media, things don't run that way. Professor Banji Akitoye visited the people of Ekiti, where he comes from, to first of all seek their mandate, or sought their own mandate, and ensure that they gave him the sovereign will to represent their interest, to demand for secession. What about Chief Sunday Igboho? Has he also gone back to Oyo State in the town of Igboho to equally sought the mandate of the king of Igboho Kingdom for his own endorsement of moving the entire Yoruba people out of the Nigerian state? These are not just fables. These are not just things you just sit over in one corner of your room and pencil down any letter. It's a misplaced priority. It's unfortunate that this really happened, and we never gave Professor Banji Akitoye this endorsement to run his self-inflicted voyage. And unfortunate that it's really messing up. It's really giving a very bad image of the Yoruba people, especially denying the Onitiri Abiola's lack of wisdom scenario, and lack of when we are beginning to realize why are these people behaving this way. And Prof is well learned, even if we're trying to get other people around him not to be on the same pedestal with him. But he needs to understand that when it comes to sovereign determination, you talk about plebiscite, you talk about referendum, you talk about town hall meetings, you talk about everything that escapulates this whole idea. So trying to raise army of people wearing uniform and trying to confront the unfortunate scenario that happened in Oyo State government house It's really, really absurd and unreasonable of a professor of his level to bring us to this missing link. So we must be able to analyze those facts. Not that I hate Professor Banji Akintoye, but the scenario is self-serving scenario that is embarking on will just only lead him to destruction because those that have done similar things before, Ojukwu did similar thing and over 5 million people lost their lives because there was no reasoning and there was no assessment of the situation before taking their people into unnecessary war. You cannot put us into war when you are appropriating and reprobating that, oh, we will support Yoruba nation today. When you see people now manifesting that idea, you deny them. And this is one of your cardinal objectives. You are this Madam Onitiri, you were all together trying to mechanize this heinous objective. Well, I believe there is a law and there is a need for reasoning. We in Yoruba land, recently we just had the Omoluabi festival in Ile-Ife. We have sought the idea of majority of our people here. Their mindset is not on the secession because there is no basis for that at the moment. If there must be anything that will call for an harmonized discussion, what I expect Professor Banji Akintoye to be agitating for is the need for us to have a new people's constitution, whereby it will give that semblance of democratic ethos, not the military Decree 24 of the Abdul Salami led Supreme Military Council constitution that we are currently running on. So they should be talking about restructuring. How do we really ensure that it's agricultural revolution? How do we really put our governors on their toes? We have not even started the battle from within to make sure that our own democracy within the entire Yoruba land and our people are well fed under the current scenario. It will definitely lead to animal farm if you cannot correct the anomalies now, whereby there is no country anywhere yet. You are already destroying the one we have. So why not let us get to understand the basics that yes, our people are here. Let us go and engage with our people. You don't make enmity inside. At the end of the day, trying to tell the whole world that, oh, you are the same. But this situation, we have called for the stopping of these old anomalies that they are going on. That the more they go into this duel, you can see from his own point of analysis in front newspaper, he's just shooting himself in the leg. And that's Professor Banji Akintoye. He cannot be putting the entire race in on this shallow thinking. He needs to get himself right. He needs to think rightly. He needs to meet with other elders of the land. Afenifere are more elderly than him. He came at the later hour to join the quest for the Yoruba developmental agenda, only for there to be an election that was not even within our everything Professor Banji Akintoye lays on was self-inflicted. Affected us way.
A bit of audio glitch there, but we're sure technical team is working hard to fix it as quickly as possible. Incidentally, Oladutu Hassan was just making a point as to how that the whole idea of agitation for Yoruba nation is probably not only ill-timed, but it's also uncalled for, saying that the government should be allowed to concentrate on the job it was elected to do in the first instance. More so that the president is from the region, and as such, it's only fair to say, let's cut him some slack, allow him the peace of mind that requires to get the job done. We're taking a quick break. Once we reconnect with our guests, we'll bring you back in the rest of the conversation.
Thank you very much.
understand Oladoto Hassan is still with us. I'm just going to, I know you have made a very salient point with regards to the first question. Quinn will be asking you a couple of questions soon, but let me ask you this real quick. Professor Banji Akintoye now says that, look, we are not being violent. In fact, he has distanced his group and himself from the invasion of the government secretariat in Ibadan or your state. And as a matter of fact, he now says and amicably as we can. And he also made very clear that they are not against the government or President Tinubu himself, that they just want to leave because according to him, Nigeria has become what they never envisaged it to be. Isn't that fair enough that the man is even saying we want to do this as peacefully as possible?
Well, it's just I'll call it a melancholic and deceitful mode of cleverly by half discourse, because you cannot raise an army of protestations. You cannot speak violently at one end. Yes, we have had a very painful ordeal of the Fulanization, Islamization during the Buhari era, and so many things that really gave back to this unfortunate scenario. Because when the head is destroyed, it gives the entire body gets decayed at the end of the day. But you cannot separate one part of your body when the whole of your body is involved in a duel. Because Professor Banji Akintoye, Madam Onitiri Abiola, Sunday Igboho, and a lot of other people that have this old notion that, oh, the secession is the only way, so no to election and all this, have their own thinking, their own thought process, and they are free to have that. But when is that becoming so dangerously imminent to affect the majority of all of us that are Yoruba descendants? And the Oni of Ife has spoken. He just said that these are just figments of their imagination and attention seekers, that we should ignore them. But we cannot keep quiet. They are doing more things, more harm than good, once they don't even have the respect for the Yoruba Obas. Is it that they don't understand the language when the Oba is speaking? Must they also speak when the Oba has given directive that we should really get to settle down with the government of the day? It's not because of the fact that we have our own son there, our own man as our ethnic line. No, the country is not about ethnic lineage rotation. It's about democratic ethos. Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, it's about giving our best to ensuring that we don't lose the line of what the power Awolowo laid down for us. Professor Banji Akintoye is one of Awolowo's disciples. I don't know where he learnt his own from. He shouldn't have gone this whole wire and turning the entire Yoruba nation into a war zone. What they are trying to encourage, because he had knowledge. I'm very confident that he had knowledge of and premonition of what Onitiri embarked on. Onitiri was more like a daughter to Professor Banji Akintoye, and they work hand in hand. So for him now to say what they went to do on the Saturday, there he's not aware. Okay, he's supporting Asiwaju, he's not against. You cannot be putting two things at the same time. You cannot be appropriating and reprobating. That is deceitful, and this will not lead us to anywhere. It will begin to interpret us in a negative, violent manner. These are the situations that Nnamdi Kanu led his own people in the southeast, and currently is facing the drum. But because people are dying, what about those souls that were killed in Aba, Enugu, Ebonyi? Who is going to rescue the lives of those that cannot go to market, that will not be able to go to market on the 30th of May? Who will rescue the people? These are just self-inflicted, dangerous elements that we are building. We are building an atmosphere of fear, and we call it off from the Yoruba land. I speak on behalf of the Yoruba people. I represent that opinion of a majority that still believe that, yes, though it's not yet Uhuru, we can get it right. We are too wise for just anyhow people to just come and re-roll us into doom. We need to get it right by sitting. I've called for an idea that we need to begin to have a sit-out, a town hall meeting in our various communities, towns, and villages, discussing our lives. Because even if we get to that El Dorado that Professor Banji Akintoye is painting, do they think they'll be the one to lead that country? No. They have not even given the sovereign will of other people to elect them first, to give them the mandate first, to anoint them that, okay, go ahead. And now they self-impose themselves as leader of Yoruba nation in their own book, in their own paper, not the Yoruba nation of all of us that are working day and night, but making sure that we don't lose our daily bread. They don't know how people are feeling in his home state, in Ekiti State. What impact have they made personally to add value to economic life of our people? You don't just come on the side of where you wake up for a beer parlor discourse and just begin to put issues in the media. It's enough of, even media need not even give Professor Banji Akintoye this mileage of opportunity, because the more he spill out this whole wrong information, the more people are misled. People are misled in the background. And that is the dangerous thing that they are trying to do. If people are now misled out of their frustration and they are lacking in proper information to galvanize them, the government of the Southwest are not doing anything about this issue. And that's why we fought our governors. None of them have even spoken for once that this thing, we are not part of it. We are your governors in the Southwest. We have not resolved on this issue. This is the way out for us to resolve. Maybe this agitation will give rise to a new orderliness in our governance status in the Southwest. There are some governors doing the best. There are some that are just lame duck. There are people that are just there. But we are not seeing that integration. The integration of this is our own area. We are not talking ethnicity here. We're only trying to look at your own area, because they say charity begins at home. Governance system is all about the person at the ends of affairs, and the box stopped on their table. We are just thinking about president. It's not about president. But we talk about our local government chairman. They are just there wallowing money and they're scooping and money. I was just looking at in the past few months of 1 year of this administration, the governors have received triple of their state allocation. The local government has received triple of their local government jack allocation. Yet there has not been any manifestation of that money that the president gave them in order to better the life of the people. You see the same road that they are constructing for the past how many months, they're unable to finish. Whole crooked contractors, connivance everywhere, corruption everywhere. So these are issues I expect Professor Banji Akintoye to channel his energy. He's an old man. I respect him. And I've always also given him a lot of advisory in the past. That, Baba, you have your daughters who are lawyers, your grandchild who are medical doctors. Have you put them first in this battle? Let us see their name that they are helping you to sign. Let us start from your family. Bring out your family, that your whole family have already endorsed Yoruba Nation. And we are moving out after 2 months. Then go and set it out. Create your government. Create your own something in your own family. Provide your water. Provide everything. Nobody holds you. You have your right to say that you want to circulate your house. Then let's now see how that works. To be madness. So if you don't have a long thought process and you are short-lived by your quest for personal and self-aggrandizement, you are short-lived with the notion that, oh, this quest, let me just use it to seek attention, raise money abroad. That's what they're doing. They're misleading our people in diaspora. They are letting them see a very wrong aspect that they are meeting with one UN somewhere. They went to ECOWAS. That is the notion Banji and the like are selling. And they've not met with the UN Secretary General. Neither have they had any meeting with the ECOWAS. Submission of letters or all these things is not a quest for acceptability. They can receive your correspondence, does not mean that they've given you the wherewithal. Don't sell these fables that will continue to haunt them in the future. Because if lives are lost than this, I expect when Sunday Igboho came back, to first of all give that respect to those that lost their life in his house. He did not. He did not even visit the family of these people that lost their lives. He only came to bury his own mother and left again, having also put us into another attrition. This is not what we expect from him. He needs to come out. Yes, he's a brother, he's from the same part of the Yoruba land. We know each other.
Real quick, Oladotun, thank you, by the way, for that narrative there. But let's talk about how that, before now, it was Adeyemo, popularly called Sunday Igboho, who was more like the face of this agitation. But it will appear he has switched places with Professor Banji now, Akintoye. We hear more of Akintoye now as against Sunday Igboho. What does that say about the, if you like, the dynamics of this agitation?
There is no navigation plan for this whole thing they are doing. It's just like a cartoonist trying to draw up everything that will get into the mountain, either jumping, flying, running. That's just what they are doing. They don't have even amongst themselves, there is no self-respect. Because I believe Professor Banji Akintoye is the one misleading Sunday Igboho. Because he's elderly. He knows more better. He has more experience. He's taking advantage of the popularity of Sunday Igboho to take himself into and plunge himself into this whole fiasco we are having. But that should be ignored by all Nigerians and especially our people. We need to give rising value to our Moluabi ethos. We need to see reasons why we need to discuss our own identity, cultural lack problem that we are having. The amount of drug abuse that we are having in our land should call our attention. It's not the problem of Nigerian government. The lack of morals that we are currently faced with should be our major focal point. The way our identity in the past represents us is not what we are manifesting now. We are having death of cultural development. We don't have harmony in the land. Our husbands don't relate like friends any longer. Our governors see themselves as our enemies. We don't have people who will talk to each other. We don't converse. Other areas of this country, the Igbo people converse. They meet and they discuss and resolve. The Hausa people they resolve and discuss. But we don't have all this. So pathetic about, I'm so passionate, I'm very committed to this whole quest that this should be our focal point. I don't want to be wasting a lot of time when I have opportunity to share a better idea that will better our lot. And that's what the Yoruba Council Worldwide is doing. We have everything to move the entire Yoruba descendants to that greater height. But the only thing is about everybody. No one is more Yoruba than the other. So this dancing, the Makaba dance in Benin Republic and Germany should come back home if they thoroughly have that right and that value for our people. Let them come back to center of Oyo State. Let them call the town hall meeting and discuss it there. You don't stay abroad. That is what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was doing. When the entire thing fell on him, people had already died. He was always misleading the Igbo people, go and destroy the toll gate, go and do this. And they ate the land that is provided for them to the extent that they begin to now say, oh, Lagos is a no man's land. They all have right to Lagos. That is the land for the Yoruba people. I needed to go and correct that anomaly because somebody somewhere is always causing the attrition of war. So the same thing that Sunday Igboho mimic because they had the synergy with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu sometimes before now. Maybe that is where they are calling. He called for his release. I'm shocked. Yorubas don't reason this way. We sit and we resolve. We try to brainstorm. No person in our heart they say ọmọdé gbọ́n àgbà gbọ́n la fi dálé Ifẹ̀, meaning every hand must be on deck to develop the society. Both the child and both the old and the young must also contribute to the development of society. So no one is a non-entity. So this is how we owe ourselves self-respect, and that is the Omoluabi ethos that we're valued. And within our own land, we're already promoting what will unite our people. For once, let's begin to reason on the premise of the vision of what Awolowo laid on ground, what our past ancestors, the way they relate to each other. Let's not go into this self-inflicted war. Let's begin to channel our energy against the president, not even for the president, because when you are always saying we stand for the president, because if the president do wrong, how do you have seen on your program rally? I gave a lot of support to the president, but to tell him the truth, I will come on here and share my opinion. Currently, they are doing the Calabar, Lagos Calabar road. I told the president the manner and approach we are embarking on this program.
There appears to be some audio loss happening right there. I'm sure we're getting around it. Olatunji, can you still hear me? Okay, I understand that we're having a bit of network hitch right there. Okay, Olatunji, can you hear me? Okay, would you confirm that you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think the network
is so you can respond in 2 minutes, real quick. There's the Apex Yoruba Socio-Cultural Group, the Afenifere. One would think that is the entity that would drive a conversation like this. I mean, if the need ever arose, for example. But that hasn't been the case. Does this development, all of this agitation, pit the Afenifere against the Professor Akintoye group in any way? Or are they on the same page?
No, there are different factions of the Afenifere. But that of the pastorality-led group, which has always been there as the elderly position, spoken and met with the president and denounced the Professor Banji Akintoye's friction. And these are what an average reasonable elder would first of all do. I will commend them for that, clarifying first that this is not our dealing. We don't have any. You don't have to also correct the notion to others that, is this because that you now have your president, now you want to move out of the country, you are now selling the ethnic card. And that is why we have always defend the right thing, that if we see the government doing the right thing, we commend them. Where they are doing their less on some critical area, we also amend their ways. They call them to order to amend their ways. But to us, we are maintaining that the Yoruba people are not seceding. We have not resolved at any place. What Professor Banji Akintoye and some are doing is on their own voyage. They have no plebiscite referendum endorsement of our people. They believe that whatever they are, we just see them that whatever they are doing is attention seeking. And on that note, we let them know that they should stop embarrassing the race. Not calling
public affairs commentator.
Support. No, let us look into the height of what we really need in the land. We've had ability in the past of leading this country. This will not be. Thank you so much. Thank you.
things happening across the country and beyond right now. I mean, if you look at the Punch paper, newspaper this morning, you see a story about how that NDLEA has seized 4,752 kilograms, 4,752 kilograms of cannabis concealed in Abu gas tanker. I mean, that's really concerning, especially with all the fight that the agency, that is the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has been doing for years, particularly in the last couple of years under the leadership of its chairman and managing director or chief executive officer, talking about Colonel Buba Marwa, retired. In this regard, I mean, we've seen the successes they recorded and continue to record, and one would have thought by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, the streets of this country would have been cleared of drugs. Won't be hearing stories or reading newspaper pages of how that some sort of drug, whether it's methamphetamine, cannabis, Canadian loud, Mexican loud, or variants of loud found in different places, including departure points at international airports. But that hasn't been the case. So it shows to us very clearly, amongst other things, how deep-rooted this sickening and extremely disturbing phenomenon has become. I mean, Queen, you and I one time talked about drugs. I think it was World Drug Day or something, talked about drugs and the impact it has on society. Young people now take to drugs. The snap of fingers, people are using all kinds of drugs. At the drop of a hat, you find people getting addicted and all of that. It will appear it's not only on the rise, but the rise itself is happening really fast.
Yeah, it's happening really fast, and it's spreading really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to do a lot of awareness, enforce a lot of rules and regulations to nip it. I don't know if we can nip it in the bud.
Mm-hmm. But at least to cut it to its barest.
To its barest minimum, not nip it, because I feel like it has left the board. So we should be able to cut it to its barest minimum.
It's sickening and saddening to know that people now, young people, this has got to do with not just even drugs and then the other drugs that we all know of, but very inhumane and demeaning things that people engage in as regards when you hear in the news, you see, I watched a video where young people now inhale fermented urine pieces.
Just to get high.
Just to get high. And, you know, of course we know the resultant effect of getting high and engaging in drugs, which we're not even just talking about the
health, social behavior.
Yes, implications, but to the society at large, you know, how the effects of these drugs addiction extends to not just themselves, but they become harmful to their immediate families and the society at large. And when a young population of the society is constantly engaged in drugs and drugs abuse like this, you know that the society is at risk, because these are supposed to be the people who would possibly take over leadership, who are supposed to be engaged. We consider them as the creative mind of every society. And when a larger population of these young people are engaged in drugs, I bet you know what the effects of engaging in such acts would be. Kudos to the NDLEA for, you know, how
the work it's doing, right?
Yes, they've been doing to ensure that, you know, these people are brought to repentance or to book or are, you know, apprehended, and you know, so but we need more awareness
About this, right?
about this.
I mean,
Schools, and then other things to engage young people, the youth, so that they don't fall into the hands of drugs and all of that.
yeah, I can imagine. Well, what can we say? The fight continues. Yes, it does. All right, we're taking a quick break now. Next up will be our second discussion with our guests this morning. Do stay with us. thank you everyone for staying with us. Our second and last conversation on the show this morning. We're joined live via Zoom from Benin City in Edo by economic analysts Destiny Wobu. Destiny, as always, to have you on the program. I'm just going to start by first of all saying that what are we trying to do with all of this crypto narrative? $57 billion market, we understand. I mean, trade being regulated now. Is that realistic, or are we chasing shadows?
Um, we must understand that Nigeria is more likely a dualized economy. And by that, I mean that the informal sector is humongous over the formal sector. Okay, there's this hegemony between the black market sector and the official sector in all aspects of our markets. And so what the central bank is trying to do is to regulate the formal aspects. I mean, if we have $50 billion in the crypto exchanges, I must tell you that we must have at least 500 billion outside that exchange. I mean, that should be a factor of 5 or 6. So yes, the CBN will do a lot trying to regulate the formal aspects, but what happens to the underground? Because we can actually do peer-to-peer through WhatsApp, through Telegram channels, through word of mouth. People can decide to trade underground. So what mechanisms is in place to check all the trade that happens off the exchanges? Those are the questions.
Incidentally, there's supposed to be a meeting of blockchain industry leaders, as it were, and the leadership of the SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission. As a matter of fact, the DG, the Director General of SEC, was supposed to meet with the crypto arrowheads, so to speak, today, but that meeting has been rescheduled. I mean, what's your sense about what the conversation should be or could be about such a meeting?
Yes, such meetings are always good because they emphasize the collaborative nature of governance. You can't make any headway in any policy direction without high-level collaboration with the stakeholders. Okay, so that meeting should be more in terms of looking at the total impact, possible the objectives of the federal government. Everything should be put side by side. The problem we have here is there's a lot of information asymmetry with respect to how the crypto space is impacting on the currency. We do not have a study to ascertain the direct impacts. What we actually have is a lot of conjectures. The central bank believes that the crypto P2P platforms have a way of manipulating the Naira exchange rate. But we must say, we must have a study that establishes that. We don't have that. We don't have a research backing to that assertion. And like I said, what we just have is mere beliefs and conjectures. There's no scientific basis for that. Although using heuristics and using common sense, we may be able to see how that may impact, given the fact that if you have a $50 billion trade outside your financial system in an economy that is $480 billion and with a budget of about $70 billion, then any amount in the billions of dollars that is traded outside the official system will have significant effect on what happens in the official system. So these conversations should be held. We need to find out, have meetings with the crypto partners and the stakeholders in that area, the SEC, the CBN. Even we need to have, what about even the P2P experts, the people that are doing the trade? such meetings should have conversations so that we can measure the total impact. We can't just have unilateral decisions when we are dealing with something so complex and so deep. If Nigerians have spent 50 billion officially, if transactions processed within the last 6 months is about 20-something billion, and we have total volume of trade recorded at about 50 billion, it means that we cannot just wish that sector away. It is an active sector and requires a lot of discussions to be able to reach a sensible policy. Yes.
And now you say we cannot wish that sector away, but it appears that's what we are doing. First of all, the Binance development has painted crypto or the entire blockchain as we know it in very bad light. In fact, very damaging lights. Are we not already throwing the baby and the bathwater away?
Yes, I think personally, I think in the context of the failure of the Naira, the central bank is using a reactive approach to solve the problem. Like we always do, the crypto problem should have been looked at from a proactive angle, like 5 years ago. When it was coming up, regulation should have been put forward at that time to ensure that most of these things we are trying to do now, we are fizzled into it. We are trying to protect the past. We're not forward looking 5 years ago. And that's how we got to this point. So now we are using a reactive measure, which sounds a little bit draconian in the context of falling rising prices, falling exchange rates, and things like that. So at this point, I think the CBN has a short time horizon to think through the problem and act more strategically. They are using an ad hoc measure, a stopgap measure to deal with a long-term problem. So I think we are sending signals to the international community and the crypto world that Nigeria is not ready to play ball with the crypto business. And we also communicate that we are in a flip-flop policy state, given the fact that just about 6 months ago, the president lifted restrictions on crypto. And then 6 months later, we are fighting them harder again. So it sends negative messages to investors in that space. Nigeria was a leading crypto nation in Africa and even in the world. Nigeria was one of the top destinations of crypto trades. Nigeria was a leader in that space. And then now we are trying to take the back position by sending these negative signals to the international community. It will affect investments. It will affect the fintechs. We are trying to deepen our financial system, and we are giving licenses to fintechs to operate. Most of these fintechs operate, make profits from these crypto businesses. So I think we are using a knee-jerk approach instead of actually looking at the long term. Sometimes collaboration is always better than competition. So the federal government is taking a competitive perspective instead of collaborative perspective. We need to be looking through. We need to first of all analyze what is the impact. Like I said, we don't use guesswork. We don't use feelings or sentiments. What is the total impact? Let us have it in measurable figures of these crypto businesses on the exchange rate and the national economy. 2, what is the percentage of the players in this industry in relation to total percentage of people playing the financial system? 3, what is the volume? And what are these connections? These things take time to do. They require 6 to 1 year research efforts to get a more balanced view of the whole thing. But now we are just acting. We are acting more than we are solving the problem. And I personally think it is a weak approach. It may work in the short term, but in the long term, it may come and backfire when Nigeria is now seen as a pariah state, or when Nigeria is seen as a newcomer in a world where we were leading before.
Thank you, Destiny. My colleague, Queen Agaba, would like to have interaction in this regard.
Okay, Mr. Owobu, you'd agree with me that the adoption rate of cryptocurrency in Nigeria has, changed over time. We want to know some of the factors that have, driven this adoption rate. And don't you think, I know that the allegations following the issue with the Binance and all of that, and we see that some of these fintechs bank are now appealing to their customers not to use their platforms to trade cryptocurrencies because of its
Yeah.
effect on the naira. Do you think that there's any way forward for the government to leverage cryptocurrency technology, to some sort of in some way that would be an advantage to Nigerians?
Yes, there is. I think there is. The federal government already took that position when they created the e-naira. Nigeria was the first country in Africa to adopt an e-naira or e-currency, showing that the federal government was using a proactive measure to take advantage of the crypto space. But the problem with the whole thing now is that in a country where the naira value is falling relative to other currencies, people now use the crypto world and the dollar market to hedge against the value of the falling naira. By hedging, it means to protect against the loss in value in their assets. And so what has driven the rise in the crypto space in recent times is not an organic growth, but a problem with the Nigerian economy. Okay, there are three factors that have been driving this move towards crypto. One is the uncertainty in the naira value, which we have in our commercial banks. When you save money in commercial banks, it loses value by the time you go and withdraw it. But the crypto market is more stochastic. It's more likely to raise your value or destroy it immediately. So there's more volatility in that sector. And most Nigerians like easy money. So the story has been sold to the Nigerian public that investing in crypto will make you rich. Okay, it is risky putting money in the bank, put it in crypto, which is not true because it's a very volatile market. That's a major factor. People fear, people do not have certainty, they don't have confidence in the Nigerian economy, so they prefer to hedge against the currency. The second major factor that has deepened emphasis on crypto is the rise in internet penetration in Nigeria. Nigeria happens to be one of the most connected countries to the internet in Africa. With credit to this country, Nigeria leads the rest of Africa in internet penetration. A lot of people have mobile phones now. Over 150 million Nigerians have access to internet technology, and there's a lot of improvement in literacy rates in this country, making Nigeria's 70 million youth population aware of alternatives to cash. And that's another second major factor. The third major factor is the rise of fintechs in this country, which makes alternative payments easy. Recently, there's a crop of Nigerians that have been using crypto to trade with Chinese firms, people in Asia and others. I personally know a friend of mine who developed an application and paid 120 million naira using crypto payments. It was difficult to wire 120 million naira in the normal financial system without being traced, but this was done seamlessly, wired quietly, and the app was delivered without the necessity of a centralized banking system. So these three factors, the desire to attract investment and flow cash in a way that it cannot be traced, one, two, the internet penetration in Nigeria, and three, the fact that the economy is going downward and making people to lose confidence in the formal sector, are factors that have been driving people to trade in the crypto world. So what should the government have done? There's a better way to do that. The government should have set up a regulatory framework to ensure that, because that's the trend. The trend is going towards that area. So from ab initio, the government should have set up a regulatory framework to regulate the flow of these crypto funds and the exchanges, so that Nigeria will not be playing underground. Because what happens now is that the underground economy is becoming larger than the overground economy. So if they have been regulated right from time, then the sector will be sanitized, and then it will be easy for you to control what happens in that sector. The government lost that opportunity 5 years ago when they took a draconian approach to deal with it by banning crypto. And then now, 3-4 years later down the road, we have now seen that these people have been pushed to P2P payments, peer-to-peer payments, in trying to escape the sanctions of the central bank. And then that economy itself has become so large that some estimates now think that about $500 billion are traded on the ground. And it is becoming a Leviathan system, such that the federal government is now feeling threatened by what happens in the underground. There is no central bank that allows such amount of money to flow within its territory. So I think the federal government is trying to crack them down. But the more sensible approach for the long-term stability of the Naira is to collaborate, to regulate, and to bring all these stakeholders into a forum where we can regulate, register them, and ensure that they play by certain rules. There's a lot to be gained if we take that long-term approach.
Can we look at how the international, cryptocurrency, their trends and regulations, and how it affects Nigeria's, policies and our values, especially the value of the Naira?
Yes, internationally, the crypto industry has been very slow in the couple of years. And I think all governments are taking the same stance. They have taken a skeptical approach to crypto. This conservative approach favors the traditional financial system over the crypto industry. So there's this circumspect aspect of looking at crypto with one eye. There's this general dissatisfaction with the news and the volatility of cryptocurrency. So if Nigeria is taking this stance, it's not against the grain of what we see globally. Most other countries are cracking down on crypto, and we are not really doing something that is novel in that area. What is novel is when a country approaches crypto and adopts it. So we are not doing what is different from what the rest of the world is doing. The United States, China, and other countries, they at one time cracked down on crypto and tried to see whether they can have white papers to discuss the way to navigate through crypto without hurting their population. So what Nigeria is doing is not against the grain of what we have seen globally. But we do see that crypto has come to stay. The industry is expanding, although slowly, and there has been less volatility in the last couple of years, showing that there's some rebalancing efforts in that area. Nigeria should be looking at a long-term approach to merge crypto industry, because that's the future. Whether we like it or not, I'm trying to project 10 years from now, crypto will become a legal tender in most countries, because they're already working on putting that, especially with the rise of technology, the AI and these kind of things. The future is going to be crypto. Digital money will eventually become a major source of finance because of these advantages over the traditional payment systems. So Nigeria is doing what it's doing now just to react against the pressures. But when things cool down, when the chips are down, we need to find a way to have that discussion with the crypto space.
Destiny, as it stands today, it is very clear that, first of all, the EFCC had secured, obtained a court order to freeze hundreds of thousands of accounts believed by the Commission to be associated or affiliated with some cryptocurrency-related trading. As a matter of fact, investigations are ongoing in that regard. From what we're seeing, this will, in all likelihood, end up in a situation where financial authorities in this country will have to regulate blockchain or crypto more precisely. How Herculean or otherwise is that task, given the peculiarities that we deal with as a country?
Like I said, do we have the institutional muscle to tackle that problem? Because it is not a behemoth. We may be able to, like I said, analysts predict that over $500 billion are being traded outside the crypto exchanges. So the federal government, they may have the will to deal correctly in that sector, but do they have the muscle, the institutional muscle, to arrest, prosecute, and force all players to play by the rules? Analysts fear that most of what the government is doing is going to push the crypto people more underground instead of pushing them to play normally. it will push them more underground. There are legal issues here. Now, crypto business is not illegal in this country. So when you freeze people's accounts, don't the federal government expect that certain people may sue the government, that the active players who are very rich now could be able to muzzle their powers and sue the federal government? On what basis are you freezing the accounts? Are you using the CBN laws? Does it allow the CBN to block accounts without any enabling law? Now, if crypto is not illegal and P2P is not illegal, why are you blocking the accounts? Are you blocking the accounts with a view to evaluating the situation, or are you doing that as a matter of legal power? So these are the issues. There are many issues here, but one thing is certain: they are sending a negative signal to the investment world that Nigeria is not ready to play according to international business rules. We want to use a draconian approach. And in the long term, like I said, it's not sustainable. So government means well, by what I think, but does that approach really solve the problem? Will it not push people underground more? That's the question. If it pushes people underground more, because I told you, you can do P2P using WhatsApp or Telegram. Are they going to be cracking down on Telegram, WhatsApp? Do they have the muscle to trace crypto trades all through and through and get the results that they want? And secondly, there's a big question. Have they been able to establish a relationship between the crypto and the falling value of the Naira? Because the Naira value has been falling for the last decade. What about the structural issues that support or derail the Naira from a healthy value? What about our productivity? What about inflation rates? What about unemployment rates? What about the foreign investment rates that have slowed down in the last couple of years? Will you blame the crypto space for all the problems that Nigeria has? A lot of people are of the opinion that the federal government is using the hammer-nail approach because the person who is good with the hammer thinks every problem is nail. So the central bank is being an expert in financial issues, is believing that all problems in Nigeria could be solved using the financial angle, which is not correct. There's a real sector there. The fiscal policy managers know that there are deep structural issues in this country. Investments are slow, unemployment is high, business confidence is low. These factors have big effects on the value of our currency and on the economic fundamentals. We are not talking about that. We are chasing one aspect of the economy. So the policies of the government is standing on one leg, as I think, and we don't have the institutional power to regulate this behemoth, given the fact that a lot of people have been involved in it, and it is largely anonymous and untraceable. So it's difficult to do that without resources. Are you going to be throwing the meager resources of the federal government into chasing this dream? These are the big questions.
Questions indeed, no doubt. It's a fine place to wrap it up with this conversation. Destiny Owobu, economic analyst who joined us live from Benin via Zoom this morning. We do not take your valuable contributions for granted. Do have a great day ahead of you.
Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.
And as well, we're taking a break, everyone. The rest of the show returns shortly. We'll continue with a review of the newspapers for you. Do stay with us.
Many thanks for staying with us. Now, if you've just joined us, this is Global Morning, where we bring to you the highlights of, the news-making waves in the country, and we discuss topical issues. Right now, we'll just go over to the headlines of the newspaper, and we'll be beginning with the Vanguard newspaper, where we have, okay, let's begin. We'll begin with Daily Trust, the Daily Trust newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, we have Nigerian Air Force airstrikes kill many terrorists in Borno, Niger. That's a that's a very good one, to know that
Another milestone recorded, right?
Another milestone recorded. FG to reconnect 8 Sokoto LGAs to national grid after 10 years blackout. FAN NSA moves to stop multiple checks at airports. And we have Lagos markets clash. Unions threaten to cut tomato supply to Lagos. We also have war on Gaza. Israel shuts Al Jazeera's office. The writer there says U.S. police arrest more pro-Palestinian protesters. That's all we have on the front page of Daily Trust.
So we have First News next for you. First News, let's begin with two headlines besides the nameplates of First News. One has a picture of Osun State's governor, the one some have called the dancing governor. All right, the Mola Adeleke here says Osun governor got 10 billion naira foreign loans in 2023, reports. We have never borrowed any kobo, says Adeleke. That's a writer to that headline. And then another governor, but this time from the South, Governor Siminalaye Fubara of Rivers, has his picture here, and it reads, I've chosen to be focused under pressure, no crisis in Rivers, says Fubara. And you bring it down under Ogun Governor, IGP Egbetokun orders Storm Lagos for 8th Yewa Talks series. Lagos market clash, northern unions threaten to cut tomato supply to south. Corruption, we didn't release any lists of ex-governors probe, under probe, that's the EFCC. So the EFCC has distanced itself from any such lists of corrupt governors or allegedly corrupt ex-governors that are billed for investigation or probe or prosecution, what have you. Under 2024, APC will retain power, Ayedatewa vows. And then we have the star story this morning. Government security officials aiding banditry, Katsina governor cries out. This story made the rounds this last weekend. Alleges youth being recruited 500 naira. As Kebbi governor vows to sign death warrant, evicted informants. Katsina, 3 farmers in Benue. Daniel detained. Orelokwe. What's more? Abuja. Then you bring it down. Highway done purely. Tinubu Chogri business relationship, Atiku alleges, and then the writer tells us it's example of Tinubu's visionary leadership, says Maury Bruce. Okay, that's interesting because last we checked, Maury Bruce is a member of the PDP. Atiku is not just a member of the PDP, the former vice president of this country on the platform of the PDP. Of course, he's called one of the national leaders of the party. He has been the flag bearer, the candidate of that party for at least 2 presidential election cycles, including the most recent, 2023. So it's interesting how his party man takes the opposite side. Maybe it's a way of saying national interest first. Who knows? But then our next paper is News Direct, and Queen has those headlines for us.
Yeah, on the News Direct newspaper, on the front page of the News Direct, I beg your pardon, we have Lagos Calabar Highway, Atiku folds FG's demolition of properties. Accuses Tinubu of prioritizing business over public good. Says demolition of landmark, orders unfriendly to foreign
investors. Says 1 trillion naira released without approval, accuses FG of financial recklessness. We have corruption allegations. EFCC denies issuing list of ex-governors under investigation. Zenith Bank posts 189% growth in gross earnings in Q1 2024. 5.9 trillion naira, $4.6 billion loan. Serap sues Sani Wike. NNPP leadership petitions EFCC over alleged fraud by Kwakwanso and 13 others. Party members resigning from PDP due to court procedures, says Sule Lamido. That's that about the News Direct. That's all we have on the front page of the News Direct.
So we have the Salient Times this morning, right? For Salient Times, we're starting with the big story. Banditry. Kebbi governor vows to sign death warrants of convicted informers. A Lagos market clash. Unions threaten to cut tomato supply to South. Why I lived under bridge or Lagos Bridge, 75-year-old Ghanaian. Kidnappers who slept off after abducting victims arrested in Ondo. That's interesting. We hope every other kidnapper will slip off like that, for those who still have the courage to go kidnapping after this sort of very weird and very, very intriguing incident, right? But let's take it to some headlines above the name mast this morning. Soldier dismissed for sleeping with colleague's wife. I think that's a good place to start from, particularly if this allegation has been concretized or authenticated, right? On the bridge cleanup, Lagos set for removal of over 100 shanties at Adeniji Adele today. And no political crisis in Rivers, says Fubara. That's good for healthy governance, at least in the overall interest of the good people of River State. Serap sues Sani Wike others over failure to account for 5.9 trillion naira, $4.6 billion loans, publish agreements. Airstrikes kill terrorists in Niger, Borno. That's according to Nigeria Air Force. Right, Gwen would bring us headlines from the Daily Times this morning.
On the Daily Times, the front page of the Daily Times, we have Tinubu's son on Hargreaves board, a conflict of interest, says Atiku, says investors can't come to Nigeria through propaganda. Interesting. High Court of Medicines, FG promises to make drugs available. We also have Nigerian Air Force kills several terrorists in Borno, Niger airstrikes. Traditional Rulers Council tasks Nigerians on unity, prayers for leaders. Traditional Rulers Council tasks Nigerians on unity, prayers for leaders. Nigeria, UK's trade relations currently worth 7 billion euros.
Yeah, that's actually 7 billion pounds.
7 billion
pounds. Right.
I beg your pardon.
That's according to their envoy, right?
Their envoy, yes, their envoy. Okay, we've taken that. NDLEA cracks down on drug syndicates, arrests 5 in international operations. That's that for the Daily Times. Our next point of call will be
The Guardian newspaper, yes.
Which the graphics of the Guardian.
Yes.
You know, whenever I see the Guardian newspaper,
makes you want to read.
I remember that you are a big fan of.
Yes, I am a huge fan. All right, let's bring you what we have from the Guardian this morning. The Star story tells us banks, others shop for over 3 trillion naira from broke investors. Lane markets, banks are working a tightrope here. No doubt about that. Pressure from the call for capitalization by the CBN. I mean, 500 billion naira is no joke by whatever definition, right? But on the right side, just the right corner of the front page of today's Guardian newspaper, A couple of headlines there. Anxiety as INEX report fails to recognize Ondo APC Guba primary. Of course, politicians have to be compelled to do the right thing, at least under the law. Northern leaders, NNPP warn federal governments against defense pacts with U.S., France. Okay, so if you look at the graphics which Quinn alluded to a while ago, here you see major banks, the one they call the giant banks here with where they stand right now financially, all right, but of course you can look at that for yourself today. Outcry over alleged arrests, expulsion of 500 youths in Lagos. Untenable fuel scarcity amid deregulation. Lingering fuel crisis, worsening capacity utilization, productivity, says NECA, that's Nigerian Employers Consultative Association. From 30,000 naira to 615,000 naira. Feasibility hurdles await minimum wage largesse in states, private sector. The conversation has even barely begun as it stands right now, because actually it's from 30,000 to 615. Edo State has moved up to 70 now, but then it's still not Uhuru as far as civil servants generally are concerned. Atiku raises alarm over Tinubu Sans membership of Chagri's board. Okay, the vice president has been ready for over a week about the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway and the motive he believes, the authentic motive he believes is behind it. But then his party man, talking about Benmore Bruce, who himself was a senator too, under the platform of the same People's Democratic Party, has said that it's an example of the visionary leadership of President Bola Tinubu, who is an APC leader for the records. Okay, Queen will take us, just walk us through the Nation newspaper this morning.
The Nation newspaper, nothing new, nothing really new. Okay, there's something new. I was going to say nothing really new from what we've been seeing in the other papers. Government begins disbursement of 50 billion naira grants to small firms. Says 1 million businesses in 774 local councils to benefit from free cash. Edu, charting course for fiscal stability, economic prosperity. Why UK stopped students from bringing families, by Envoy. Above the nameplate, still above the nameplate. Zenith Banks grossed 781 billion naira in first quarter. Lagos government reassures residents of their safety. We also have, that's quite blurry there. Banks await CBN's decision on submitted recapitalization plans. Vice President Shatima in Texas for U.S. Africa Business Summit. That's about the nation's. That's all.
So the Punch is our next port of call this morning. At the top of the front page, just right above the nameplate, a picture of Hadiza Bala Usman, former MD of the Nigerian Ports Authority, now the one coordinating the affairs of government with regards to monitoring and evaluation of cabinet performance for President Bola Tinubu. He says Tinubu to get ministers' Q1 assessment report. Recall that the president had made very clear last year during inauguration and even when they had their cabinet retreats to say, look, we are going to do assessment from time to time, whether it's quarterly, monthly, whatever it is, but just know that for those of you who will not perform based on the KPIs, the key performance indicators that we have set, you have to leave us. I like how he puts it. I mean, nothing is more diplomatic. He says you'll have to leave us. He doesn't say you'll be fired, you'll be sacked, you'll be shown the way out. He says you'll have to leave us, all right? And that sounds great. Nine banks earmark 383 billion naira for legal dispute claims. Dangote, Unilever, 5 others cut 1,281 jobs in 1 year, according to reports. That's a whole lot of jobs there already cut. So the labor market actually has gotten further saturated. Lagos Calabar Highway, telcos fear shutdown as construction threatens cables. There's a writer that says undersea fiber cables linking Europe to Nigeria pass through construction corridor, as according to Altin and ATCON. These are associations within the telecoms and, of course, the internet connectivity sectors of the tech ecosystem. All right, NDLEA seizes 4,752 kg cannabis concealed in Abuja gas tanker. If you look at a picture of it there, you see how much of load we're talking about. All right, the size of it, which the suspects in front of their goods, so to speak. 80% of Lekki buildings have no approval, according to Lagos State government. Foreign scholars lament 11-month unpaid allowances face ejection. Major marketers demand more fuel as depots stock drops, all right, which is again one factor accounting for the drop that we now experience with regards to fuel availability. Our last paper is Vanguard, and Queen has that for us.
On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, we have what we have here is a picture of a bridge.
An oil rig.
Oil rig. I beg your pardon. It says local firms, IOCs, to bid for 12 onshore, 7 deep onshore oil blocks. As FG woos investors at OTC 2024. Just above the nameplate of the Vanguard, why FDIs continue to elude Nigeria. This statement is attributed to Atiku. Zenith Bank gross earnings by 189% to 782 billion naira, I beg your pardon, in Q1 2024. How Nigerians can identify fake electricity meters by Tahir Aliyu, NEMSA MD. Also, Obaseki Des Obi-led Legacy Group. Multiple checks. FAN NSA moved to reduce security agents at airport. Employers, labor angry over unending fuel scarcity. Marketers remain upbeat as petrol scarcity enters third week, despite the assurances that we've gotten from the NNPC and then the federal government that petrol is not scarce. Minister wades in as condemnation trials FIJ journalist arrest. Owe Lakemfa, quite blurry there, but you find that story on page 16 of the Vanguard newspaper. And that's it on our newspaper review. This is where we draw the curtains on newspaper review here on Global Morning. It's been an interesting ride with my colleague Uyi Agbomofwegwe. And some of the guests we've had on the program talk about topical issues and give their contributions to these matters. We do hope that you make it a date with us tomorrow for another interesting ride of the Global Morning here on Global Television. From my colleague and I, we're wishing you a beautiful start of the week. Have an amazing week ahead. Thank you for staying with us.